God, we've got to do something. The little orphans, oh my goodness. Bitch almost had me going get an orphan. People in Mississippi, white folks in Georgia and shit, adopting babies. Shit gonna last about a year. And that racism gonna come out. God damn. What in the hell we got here, Margot? Ain't your eyes ever gonna round out? Look like one of the neighborhood coons. And I'm for orphans now, you know, don't get me wrong, I like orphans, but shit, they got 10 million niggas here need to be adopted. They got a show in L.A. on TV, they be selling niggas for adoption on the TV. You ever see those shows? Get one of these niggas, please. This big head one here, he's all right. I'd take him home, but I have a dog. Got all the Vietnamese in the army camps and shit, taking tests and stuff, learning how to say nigga, so they can become good citizens.
All right, so we're good to go. All right. Hey, this is Jason Klamm. This is episode number 4 of Comedy on Vinyl, and this week we are going to be doing Is It Something I Said by Richard Pryor. Do I sound all right?
Yeah.
All right. And with me, as usual, is Mike Worden.
Hello.
And, as not usual, Mike Preister.
How's everybody doing?
Let's wait for the response.
We get a good response usually on that.
Yeah, this time I don't know what's
Really?
going on.
They're awfully quiet out there.
Yeah, it's very strange.
How come they respond to Richard Pryor so well that we get nothing?
I know. What the fuck? So, yeah, I'm not familiar with this record that much, so I listened to it today for the first time. I'm embarrassed to say. But, I mean, I know enough Richard Pryor from the films and a few other albums. But, I don't know. Mike, just tell us what this album means to you.
When you asked me about vinyl, I mean, this Richard Pryor is who came to me. And doing a little bit of research since then, I remember being, in 9th grade or 10th grade, somewhere along there, and I can't even honestly remember why I bought a Richard Pryor album.
Right.
I'm sure I had seen him somewhere, and this was in the late 70s. Mm-hmm. And, he was well known, but I think I had just seen bits, and I'm sure nobody at my house had a Richard Pryor album. Right. And when I put it on, it was like gold, I mean, it was just like I'd never heard anything like this. I'd never seen anything like this. And he paints such a picture with words, I'd never seen him. I'm guessing I'd seen him on TV, but certainly never seen him in concert.
Sure. And
even listening to little bits we were here before and that we'll see here, he creates this image in your mind where, we've seen enough of him here and there that we can tell what he's doing.
Yeah.
That it's making you laugh because there's something funny going on. You can hear an audience response. Or sometimes you're just wondering, I wish I could see live or see a recording of what he was actually doing during some of these bits. Because he's doing something that's setting the audience off big time,
Do you think, I don't know if there are concert movies of this. Like, do you have any idea?
I know that there is footage of When a Woman Leaves You. That on YouTube you can kind of see that part of it and stuff too. Okay. You can see him doing that one. And I don't know about any other particular bits from here, from this album.
Pretty good. And you grew up in Nebraska,
right? I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and honestly, in a very, white neighborhood and had very little, exposure to any type of, ethnicity or, beyond like Italian. That was like, going, overboard for us.
Right.
That was the ethnicity, of the neighborhood that I grew up in. And it really was, an exposure that was interesting. And I also knew, I had that sense that I knew he was doing things I couldn't do as as wanting to be a comedian as well. I mean, you and I were talking about, it's still shocking to hear him throwing out, the N-word and, and the language he uses and talking about pussy and, and it's like, if somebody's not ready for that, if that's not your cup of tea, Richard Pryor, isn't the person for you.
Right.
But he's just an amazing guy, and just having done a little bit of research and seeing that, Comedy Central voted him the all-time greatest stand-up comedian. And for me, awesome. It's absolutely true for me. I mean, you can see, bits of, Bill Cosby performances that make you laugh so hard, and Steve Martin, I know you've heard a lot, and I listened to a lot as a kid. As a stand-up, he was, pretty special, you know.
Sure.
But Richard Pryor, for me, is just, he's the man. He's the one who sits out and, stands out and up and above. And just, I know a lot of people put stock in Lenny Bruce, and I know he opened doors and did things that people hadn't done before.
Sure.
But it's Pryor, who I think really hit the pinnacle.
Yeah, I mean, like, Lenny Bruce, I mean, at the very least, he language-wise, I guess he opened doors, but he wasn't a character guy too much. Right. It was just much, I mean, he was also broke lines as far as racial barriers. He would do all kinds of satire about race. But yeah, he wasn't a character guy, and that's what, for me at least, connects to people the most. And that's, again, like Chris Rock. Even Chris Rock talks a lot. I mean, his characters are not a thing you find as much unless it's like a bit or a gimmick. Like, I don't know, Mike. What do you think?
No, that's exactly right. What I love about Pryor is that he takes you to a place where you're really on the verge of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, and Lenny Bruce did that too, but this is, sometimes Lenny Bruce did make a lot of the people feel uncomfortable, and that was why he had some backlash. But he takes you to that point where and he's like, no, it's okay to think about this. It's okay to laugh about this. That's what comedy is. That's what really gets it for me.
Seeing some of the things he went through in his life too, and seeing that he had visited Africa in, I think, 79, and he, stopped using the N-word, after that, and hearing, all these albums, the 70s was his heyday album-wise and stuff, and they're, N-word laden, I mean, and that's it, and knowing that he changed and later on, stopped doing it too, is something I think people have to keep in mind that, he had to change too in his attitude towards the word itself.
Right.
And, it's, obviously the country has,
Sure. It can't... To me, I mean, I don't even hear it anymore. If I hear a comic that uses it a lot, I don't hear it because I just I guess I zone it out. Or I turn the comic off for the most part because I don't care unless you're using it to make a point, which nobody is anymore.
Right.
And maybe he wasn't doing it to make a point, but he was reflecting a culture that existed, and now most American cultures become a fucking parody of itself anyway. So I can't take it seriously. Then it's like, you know what? We are black people. It was just post-civil rights. Civil rights didn't quite work out the way we hoped. Not to make it too serious, but I mean, at this point, I don't know, the word gets so overused it has no impact anymore. And it doesn't even shock me. I don't think. It just annoys me, for the most part.
Agreed.
And I mean, Mike Worden and I are both from upstate New York too. I don't know what your experience was ethnically, Mike, but mine was very white as well.
Very, very white.
So it's three white guys talking about Richard Pryor. That's what we're going to call this episode, actually.
I did listen to my fair share of Tupac.
Okay.
In high school, so I was actually. They called me a wigger in high school. Was my name?
Right. Because you wanted to listen to different things.
Because I listened to different things.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. But Richard Pryor, especially me, is in comedy is the number one influence that I had. I listened to everything, and it's funny that I don't know much about this album, but his other stuff, it was on vinyl in my parents' attic because that was the stuff I wasn't allowed to listen to up to a certain age. I could listen to the Bill Cosby stuff as much as I wanted, but.
That made me think of something too, is that now somebody who's in high school, if they want to get a hold of this, probably can't because it would have a stamp, you have to be probably 17, I'm guessing. Yeah. And I'm sure my parents had no idea I was up there with the Richard Pryor album. My parents are a lot of fun, but I don't know, we had 7 kids, so it was hard to maintain who was doing what at any given time, right? So I was up there with Richard Pryor albums and hearing this stuff that I'm sure if they really knew, they would not have wanted me to. But, it really is one of the first big influences in comedy in my life.
Made me mad, too, Jack. I said, get that motherfucker 40 years, that's cold-blooded. So that motherfucker sentenced me, but he ain't gonna get my dignity, kiss my ass, Jack. Step right up there, shit. Say what it is. Huh? Run it down. Judge said, what are you doing the next couple of months, Mr. Pryor? Well, I'll be helping crippled children and anything I can for humanity, sir. I had my pants all down by my ankles when he was finished. Just don't stick it in too far, Your Honor, please.
And besides, my parents have terrific senses of humor. Sure. He was the one who kind of showed me, character work and crafting jokes and, and playing to an audience, because he gets audiences, eating out of his hand on these, he's so charismatic. It's unbelievable.
Did you ever do any stand-up? Right?
I did. Yeah. I did stand-up too. I was more of a sketch comedy person, was my favorite, but at times when you couldn't get people together, I was doing stand-up. But, when Richard Pryor is your hero, how do you live up to that? You know, I mean, I did some traveling just around the Midwest and stuff, but I preferred writing, preferred group work. So I, really wasn't a full-fledged stand-up comedian. I never called myself, a stand-up comedian. It was more a chance to get on stage and to write stuff and put material out in front of an audience to get a response.
Right.
That's why I shot lower. Dave Coulier is my hero. I was like, I'm not going to say Richard Pryor's my hero, because then I don't have anywhere to go.
I know, right? How do you look?
How's your Bullwinkle? That's my question.
Yeah. Not good. That's what I threw it off. I was like,
it's Coulier good.
Oh my god! But he did sleep with Alanis Morris.
I know, that's the first thing that comes to my mind too. When you think you can't ever sell him short.
Cut it out!
You missed it at home, but he did faithfully the hand gesture. So thank you for that. You made someone say. I'm trying to think, because Richard Pryor for me, my first exposure is probably just the movies, because I listened to unintentionally mostly white comedians growing up, just because that's all my parents had was a bunch of white people.
And also that's predominantly what was on TV at the time too. It was harder as a minority to get on.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think they ever. Also, they didn't want me listening to the N-word until I was old enough to get when it was being how it was being used, that I was not allowed to use it, because I did use it once when I was 6 because I didn't know what the word was. I'd heard it, and my dad, they did not beat me, but he spanked the shit out of me that day. He's like, "What did you just say?" I'm like, "I don't know. I have no idea what the word means. Just some kid at school said it." And so I said it too, and I never said it again after that. Well, I won't say never now. I can use it academically, even though I'm still mostly uncomfortable with it.
Right.
But I don't know. My exposure to him was through the movies, so it's. But every time I hear him, it is like you said, it's new and fresh to me. But I mean, it's new and fresh to you, and it's still like one of the first things.
We were talking about Blazing Saddles too, and that he would, helped with the writing on that. And you can definitely tell, of all the things. I mean, Mel Brooks did his thing too. But,
sure.
So how old were you when you saw like Blazing Saddles? Were you out of high school? Or
I am trying to think of I think it was one that my parents also wouldn't necessarily let me watch until they knew I could get it. Also, like Rocky Horror, they wouldn't let me see for a long time, which was weird. I want to say I was 16, like 15 or 16, so 95 or 96, and it fucking blew my mind.
Yeah.
And it was not in any way because of the use of the N-word, as mind-blowing as that was, and as funny as that was for the shock of it, and not hearing it, and knowing it was like, a quote-unquote dirty word or whatever, but like the use of it, and it blew my mind and just changed the way I thought about everything, to the point that second I became a satirist, at least in some small way.
Absolutely, right.
Like, because I remember that I think it was that summer or the summer right after it, I remember going to the fair in upstate New York. And I don't know if you've ever been on the swing ride. It's just a bunch of swings on the big thing. Okay, we're standing, and my friend Dan, we're just sitting there, waiting to get on the swing ride. There's this grandmother, clearly a grandmother, and her little 6-year-old kid standing there. And then she's looking over at the ride, and she turns to her husband, "Oh, did you notice there's a colored man running the ride?" And I'm like, her grandkid's sitting right there, and I just turned her. I'm like, "Yeah, you better be careful. Your kid might catch black." And that was the second I was initiated. I fell into the same club, and I'm like, "All right, no, that was the thing for me."
Wasn't it? I think we all agree how funny and hilarious that movie is, and Cleavon Little is hysterical too.
So good.
But if Richard Pryor had done Bart too, I think we get a little different movie, and I think really special. Yeah. And I would love to have seen that.
Yeah, I wonder how he would have played it. I don't know if he would have played it up, because I mean, Cleavon Little comes at it with like, he's Broadway trained. Yeah. He's like
very
handsome,
polished,
and he's like, they made him this sexy hip black dude. Like they had the polished urbanite or whatever they called him in the movie. What is it, dazzling urbanite like yourself, doing in a rustic setting like this. Oh, such a good line. But but Richard Pryor, I mean, not that he was, but he wasn't as polished. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I can't imagine. But it would have been, pardon me, it would have been amazing.
Yeah,
I think you could make the argument with Pryor that he was the beginning of the end of like of vulgarity, because you listen to it now and it's still pushing the limits.
Sure.
He got to the end of the wall. There, you can't go further.
So. I think you're 100% right there.
You can go further where you don't earn it. I mean, you can get so disgusting where you don't earn the laugh, and it's like, okay, well,
you can become Andrew Dice Clay.
But yeah. And it wasn't. That's not really earned. But he earns it, and he's right there. You can't go any further, I think.
He was this quintessential 70s comedian, you know, that really, like, he lived in Berkeley, counterculture was his thing, and he was involved. And so, you know, about 1979, 1980 is when there became this huge proliferation of comedy clubs all over the country.
Yeah.
Every small town. That's how I, like, kind of, one of the ways I paid my way through college was I could go for the weekend to Columbus, Nebraska and Fremont, Nebraska and MC or do a middle spot or something for some headliner and make money. There were little comedy clubs. And, you know, so many people were imitating the famous comedians at the time. Or, you know, you develop your character, but you could tell there was a Pryor here or a George Carlin there.
Sure.
Or a Bob Hope, you know, if you really, you know, wanted to try to push it and stuff. I mean, there were guys who just literally sat there and did old jokes.
Wow.
You know, and they got paid, you know. And
so funny.
And so at that point, America got exposed because then they started the TV shows.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think...
Evening at the Improv.
Evening at the Improv was kind of the first big one where you saw comedians, you know, on TV, you know, in their essence, and they did more bleeping than cutting out. You got more of a sense of what it was like to be at a comedy club.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you know, besides there was a comedy club in every town and then on TV. So now you got to see what it was, you know, and so it was harder, I think, to kind of push through as an original, you know, because so many people were copying. And also, you know, people got to know what it was. Sure. And I hope we can say people got a little bit more sophisticated, at least took a step up in the sense of you couldn't just go and do Richard Pryor bits, you know, at the time, you know, get away with it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of, fucking, what's her name? Rosie O'Donnell actually got, like, discovered doing a Jerry Seinfeld set. She didn't tell anybody that's what she was doing. She got discovered through a talent contest, but she just did wall-to-wall Jerry Seinfeld. You couldn't get away with that
There's a story of, you know, Robin Williams is famous among the comedy world for stealing bits.
Right.
Only he'd like see you do something and he doesn't remember who said it, where said it.
Right.
He'll be on stage and he throws it out. And the story is with him that, like, you know, if you saw him doing your bit, you'd say, hey, Robin, you know, that was my, you know, parachute bit. Oh, okay, man. And he'd, like, give you $50. And then there's a story, if you're broke, you just say, hey, Robin, that Barracuda bit was mine, too. Oh, okay, here's $50. Like, he didn't know where he got it from or where it came from or anything, too. So I don't know. No, that's the, you know, that's at least the myth that goes around the comedy world when I first moved here in the early 90s and stuff, you know.
I was born in Peoria, Illinois. That's a city, nigga. You probably wouldn't know nothing about that, see? Old country ass boy. And when I was little, there was an old man, his name was Mudbone, and he dipped snuff, and he'd sit in front of the barbecue pit, and he'd spit. See, that was his job. I'm pretty sure that was his job, because that's all he did. But he'd tell stories, fascinating stories, see? He was fascinating. And I loved him. It made me very happy. Because I'd stay with him and listen to this stuff. See, you learn something when you listen to old people. They ain't all fools, see? You don't get to be old being no fool, see? So, a lot of young wise men, they're dead in the motherfucker, ain't they? So...
that TV stuff was a great way for A&E Comedy Central to fill programming.
Yeah.
We're going to throw a camera in the back of the...
Yep.
We're going to do 4 shows tonight, and here you go. There's 4 half-hour shows.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
And we realized, even my friends and I, you know, who were doing comedy and doing sketch comedy and stuff like that, it dawned on us, hey, wait a second, you know, we've got bits we've polished over 2 years, and now we're going to throw it on some show, basically give it to them for a couple $100, things that, you know, we've really worked on and stuff, and it kind of... You know, takes away they haven't written jack shit.
Right.
You know, they're getting programming, you know, from comedians and stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I guess in one way you're getting all this exposure if you're on TV. Fine, great, fantastic, but you just killed your material.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
You know, how do you travel now if you're a comedian? You go, oh, great, you know, I've done this, and then people start going, wait a second, I just saw that bit on, you know, Evening at the Improv last week, don't you? And that's always what people want to see is new material.
Yeah.
Although you can kind of tell in some of Richard Pryor's, he stopped doing Mudbone, you know, one of his characters, because I'm sure he just got sick of people yelling, Mudbone,
right?
He went.
Well, comedians now a lot of them are pushing the envelope. Louis C.K., Patton Oswalt, they both throw away everything and start every year.
Start fresh.
They have a whole hour every year.
Yeah.
Paul F. Tompkins, every time you see him, he's a new 20 minutes. It's like
how the fuck does anybody do that?
It's ludicrous, but
I don't get it. I mean, in one way, I mean, comedy's hopefully evolving, but it's not bit based as much as it used to be, or at least not clearly bit based. It's not like here's my bit about airline food necessarily. It's like here's this long. It's more like since you know how long form improv developed, short form. It's talking. Not at the audience, hopefully. That's shitty comedy. But, you know, having a conversation, hopefully, with the audience. But like
lectures. No.
Yeah, right. Well, sometimes they come across that way. But supposedly Louis C.K. goes on stage with no notes whatsoever. 100%. And he's like, I've got an idea. I'm just going to go do it. And he tests it that way. Sure, he polishes it. But he still doesn't write down what he polished. How the fuck do you do that?
Without recording it. Yeah, that takes a special kind of comedy brain to do that stuff. He's pretty amazing. He's pretty amazing. And under... You know, he keeps getting these shows, and they just don't catch with people and stuff.
Sucks.
Underappreciated, you know, because this is a funny guy.
Yeah.
Really funny guy.
He's brilliant. Like,
but he's one. Sorry to interrupt you. He's one of these people also who talks about. He pushes the issue of race even as a white guy. He pushes the issue of homophobia as a white guy, and he brings this up in a lot of interviews too, like Richard Pryor, where he would bring up to his friends. Louis C.K. brings up to his friends. Why does this offend you? Tell me the reason why if I say faggot, why does that offend you? He actually asks them, and then they bring it up, and they have these great conversations about it.
Sure.
And it's wonderful. And you know, knowing where he goes from A to C, when he says the jokes, you are now okay. He earned it. He earned where he got there, and we realize where it is. And it's the same thing with Richard Pryor, because he earned it. He got there. He went from A to C. He worked it out.
You know, but it also makes you wonder. You know, when he stopped, like he made the funny thing is he stopped using the N-word. Yeah. But he's going to throw motherfucker out there all the time. You know, but you can understand where he's coming from, and I had friends who had a problem. You know, a guy who I was in the military with, who was African American. And, you know, every now and then somebody'd, like, be joking around or something, and then somebody'd throw the N-word at him and stuff, thinking, oh, we're pals, we can, you know, and he went off on some people and said, look, you know, I've not given you permission, you know, to say that, you know, I mean, you can see where somebody is coming from, and, you know, to know that even, you know, Pryor had this epiphany, you know, but he still, you know, that's kind of the only thing, because nothing was off limits with him, you know, to see that, you know, something clicked, you know, from this visit to Africa that he took. Yeah. And that, you know, he's not going to use it anymore. So it's very interesting, you know, the aspect of this really amazing person. Yeah. You know, we were listening to the bit, When a Woman Leaves You, and knowing that this is a guy who was married 7 times to 5 different women, you go, oh, you know, you know there is, you know, 90% of truth in what's going in there, that he's just playing out stuff that happened to him.
It's so true. I mean, do you think, I mean, to listen to that, obviously, comedians are usually contrarians. Comedians are usually kind of bipolar in that, you know, like a flip can get switched like that. Sure, it's different for him. There's a whole cultural thing for him where he goes to Africa, maybe has a discovery, and this makes a conscious decision. You know what? This is stupid. I'm not going to say this anymore. But then, like, there's a bruised heart in there, like there is for every comedian. Yeah. Is that what, I mean, do you ever think that that's part of what attracts you to listening to a comedian like that? Is there, like, heart, for lack of a better word, or because you can hear all that.
It's so hard to peg and just say, you know, because he did speak to me, but you know, we have no similarities. This is a guy whose mom left him when he was 10 and is raised in a brothel. Holy shit. Know, and you know, and the stories that you read is, you know, he's beaten, you know, daily by the grandmother and the, you know, 4 siblings and all, and you know, it got in the army I think when he was 19. And then spent most of the 2 years in the army in prison because they got mad at some guy they were at some, you know, base movie, and some guy was laughing a little too hard at, like, some racist humor in some movie and stuff, and they, like, beat the crap out of this guy.
Holy shit.
So he basically spent most of his 2 years in military prison.
Wow.
So this is as a young man, you know, and you're going, how does that guy, How is that guy going to end up on the Tonight Show?
Right.
You know, where he's come from. You know, to think that he had the wherewithal to go, okay, because then when he finally does become a comedian, he, you know, like Bill Cosby is his hero. He's a very clean-cut, straightforward, you know, I'm sure there was this level of characters, and this is just a funny, charismatic guy. But we were talking about this story where finally it was in '67. He's at the Aladdin, and he's looking out. He walks out, and there's this audience. He's like, they say Dean Martin's in the audience. He goes, "What the fuck am I doing?" And he walks off, and that's when he turned his whole material base around and became insane. You know, pushing the edge on, you know, controversy and, you know, what he was talking about. And, you know, he loves to talk about, you know, the ladies and getting pussy. And,
man, are we going to have a revolution like that again? Because, you know, Carlin took off the suit. He took off the suit. Yeah. You know, Lenny Bruce never took the suit off, but he changed tactic at some point. Like, where have we gone since then?
You know, it's funny because they tried to have, and you guys are a little too young, you know, in the early 90s, and it's some of the comedians hanging around with Brian Posehn and Patton Oswalt and Jack Black. Alternative comedy is what they called it. And eventually my buddies and I, we came with their alternative comedy means you wear shorts. You know? I mean, that was the revolution. I mean, but granted, you talk about those guys who are doing like stream of consciousness. You know, it's funny because Paul F. Tompkins, you know, wears a tie and it makes him stand out now.
Sure.
You know, I mean, that's a suit and tie is his thing. And he's always, I met him in '92. He's always done that too. Really? That's Paul F. Tompkins, you know, that's his... That's no shtick. That's the guy, you know, and it's funny. You remember that about him, you know.
Sure.
But this was the beginning of the rock star era for comedy. This was the arenas,
right? Him and Carlin pretty much became such huge names in themselves. You know, Pryor and Carlin, you know, were like, you know, that it was like the handing off of, you know, Lenny Bruce he, as a kid, and since I'm, you know, virtually 20 years older than you guys, you know. I never got exposed to any Lenny Bruce in you know, Middle America. They weren't putting him out there. You had to have gotten an album or something, which I didn't get. But these guys, you know, seeing where they took it from, I consider that Bob Hope era, you know, or those guys. I know there were the Catskills, you know, guys too who ended up on the Tonight Show, you know, who were basically just, you know, doing bits. Probably they'd done for 10, 20 years and all too. But when you see some of those older guys too, like David Steinberg, very funny guy, and who's the other guy with the big nose? Dave, I can't even remember. But you know, again, seeing you know, these comedians who were pretty hilarious, but just not pushing the edge. They were funny people,
right?
You know, but not taking it somewhere kind of crazy and new like Pryor and Carlin did.
Man, women leaving me though, see, but they tell you why. Yeah, fuck that, just leave. Right, because there ain't shit you can say when they talking to you, right? You know it's true. All you can do is stand there and look silly, right? And shit gets too thick, right? Niggas got a great answer. Well, fuck it then. Take your shit and get out. Yeah, motherfucker, pack this shit. You packing shit. Pack this motherfucking shit. You fucking with me, goddamn. I don't give a fuck. You put it under your drawers. I don't give a fuck where you put this shit. Shit, I'm gonna find me some new pussy. Women come back at your ass, all right? You know, you had 2 more inches of dick, you'd find some new pussy here.
I want to bring it over to sketch comedy because that's my expertise, but it doesn't really make any sense to me. But I mean, like, the Smothers Brothers, you know, later, you know, I can't stop talking about them. Yeah. Obviously, they go from fake clean cut, sure, but they go from, like, semi-clean cut, and actually in the real lives, pretty straight edge, to at some point, Tommy has this whole revelation where, you know, I'm not the only person on the planet, and, like, just, I can't remember exactly what it was, what injustice it was, how he got pulled away by the police or whatever, but, you know, he felt some sort of kinship with the rest of humanity, and all of a sudden had to, like, everything changed. You know, I don't know, like...
But I think if you're talking about sketch comedy, in the sense you can take that to the Pryor movies.
Sure.
You know, and say, you know, so now he's not by himself in front of a crowd getting laughs. And I mentioned to you what I thought were kind of his maybe best known and best received movies is Stir Crazy and Silver Street. Yeah. You know, and but they're not movies that I like throw in the DVD player or anything, you know. Right. I remember laughing and stuff. Sure. Because besides those two, there's a lot of dogs in there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know? Yeah, and
which I think was drug money. A lot of it had to have been coke money.
Right.
You know, and I mean, he would have admitted that to any... I mean, after this wasn't the end of it, was it? I mean, 75, he was still...
No, definitely.
When did his hair get set on fire from Freebase?
That was 80. That was 1980. Okay. So it was 5 years later was the Freebase incident. Yeah. And... you know, and then he did Live on Sunset Strip after that, because he does the joke about him. He takes the match and says, "What's this?" Oh, Richard Pryor, you know? Yeah.
Isn't that the cover of the album too? Isn't
it?
I think
a
drawing of it, if I remember correctly, a drawing of him and his hair.
You know, so he again, you know, this is a guy. He makes fun of this horrible incident, you know, and he's going, "I know what you're saying about me," you know, and it's just to see and know that he has that way of looking at things, you know, and he puts himself in other people's shoes, you know, like he does with his characters, you know, that, you know, his movies were big, but he should have been a huge movie star.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know, he was a name, but it didn't transfer, or I think, you know, who knows what was going on drug-wise with him.
Right.
And to try to get him, you know, there's so much money involved in movies that I'm sure there were producers who wanted him to do a set script, and he probably just wanted to be himself.
Right.
And who knows under what, you know, influences on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, alcohol or drugs, or, you know, people telling him, "You're Richard Pryor, why are you listening to those guys?" and stuff. And I'm sure that's what led to it not really transferring as well as it should have, you know, because there's some funny moments and all too, but... You know, for being such a hilarious guy and for being this great stand-up, you would hope it would transfer into movies and stuff too. But it never, besides, like, I mean, in those days, we went and saw the concerts at the movie theater. Sure, you know, I mean, there wasn't, you know, I saw Live on the Sunset Strip, you know, at the big theater in Omaha and just laughed so hard.
Awesome. That is so good. I would see, that's the thing, is like I was thinking about this today, is that I listen to a couple other podcasts like The Nerdist, which is a great podcast. They talk about stand-up a lot. I'm realizing, like, I don't think I've ever really seen... The only stand-up show I've ever seen outside of the Smothers Brothers a couple years ago is just a show they just did with a bunch of Conan's writers while he was between shows.
Oh, right.
Did you go to that? Yeah, so good.
Was that fun?
So good.
Yeah,
but I just really haven't seen it, and it's one of those art forms that I think is under... For me, in my own world, it's just not part of how... Even though the first comedy albums I ever listened to were all stand-up.
Yeah.
It's not something I ever gravitated to. I just gravitated to the idea of making jokes and how you can be funny with things, you know?
Yeah, that whole... It's such a different world, because I did prefer working in sketch comedy too. Yeah. That the difference of going and just being, you know, a monologist, you know, and just, you know, throwing, you know, thoughts out there and trying to craft jokes and trying to make it, you know, seem natural and to seem real it's such an art form. And difficult to do well, and there's so many who do it not so well. Sure. That, you know, it sometimes is where you just feel like, I don't want to be another one of those guys doing bad stand-up.
Right, it gets really hacky. I mean, I know, I can, actually, that's not true. Now I'm recalling, I did see another stand-up show, but it's only in the back of my head. I have no idea why I was there, and I remember every comic being bad. Yeah. Every comic busting out, just like, we're in L.A., so let's make a bunch of Mexican jokes. Right. And it was just like, I don't care. Right. You know, making Mexican... You can do what you want, but Richard Pryor clearly had experience with... There was a life built into all this material. It's not a guy just trying to make jokes. It's a guy who had some shit inside him that needed to come out, and the way it came out was in the form of jokes. Yeah. It's the only way he could deal. And I think most good comedians are like that. You know, they've got something built inside them that I don't know your personal life too well, or yours that well, Mike. I'm pointing to both of them, by the way. But to be honest, like, you know, I've had my own shit, and I know that's the reason I want to be funny. Right. You know, whether it's the whole everybody love me, I don't care. It comes out as jokes.
I've always maintained that mine was, you know, being the product of 7 children, and you know, if you didn't like, you know, stand on your head and do a dance, you know, there wasn't anybody looking at you and stuff.
I do it for pussy.
Okay, all right, Richard Pryor. But that is, you know, it's all about, you know, wanting to find a way to attract, you know, the opposite sex or the same sex, depending on your, you know, wherever you're going from. Of, you know, just wanting to make people laugh is to want to get the attention, whether it's to get, you know, to get laid or.
Yeah. Well, I remember my freshman year in college, my first acting class I ever took, the first day, the professor, Dr. Claude File, brought in live on the Sunset Strip, and we watched.
Really? He was my teacher too. I love that guy. He's one of my favorite acting teachers.
He's like, this is how you perform. He's like, acting is this. He's like, he's doing a stand-up character,
right?
And this is how he do it. And he's like, and if you can figure this, like, this is basically how he boiled it down. And he always said, the person you are is 10 times more interesting than anybody you're going to try to be, anybody pretend to be as an actor.
Right.
He's like, and he's playing himself. He's still playing a character, but it's not just about being funny. Like, you can write great jokes, but if you can't perform it, and that's
a very good way.
Well, yeah, and I think people run into that too. You know, whether you're going to be able to sell a joke. You know, you might have the best joke out there, but if you don't know how to tell a joke on top of it,
and if it's not for you as your persona, I hate to say that, but trying to figure it out and be like, here, this is a joke for you because this doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, hand it off, right? You know, I can't sell this one, but I know it's a good joke, so you can try to get somebody, to put it out there.
Are there? I mean, does it still? I mean, I don't know how much you know, of the stand-up world now, but I mean, is it still like an issue? Are there some guys who are just like, they do their own shit, but they are still like selling jokes out of their pocket to comedians? Does anybody do that anymore?
I couldn't tell you. I'm so out of the stand-up comedian loop for like 10 years now. You know, when I moved here I've been here 19 years, 19 years. Yeah. You know, and definitely the first 8-9 years, I was, involved in seeing people and going. I had friends who were. And I have no idea what they do in the last 10 years. I mean, I have a couple buddies who every now and then go and perform down at the Improv. Yeah. Or I guess up at the Comedy Store, but it's such a weird. It seems like such a weird world to me now. Yeah. Like who goes to a comedy club like you were saying? It's like what do you have to do?
I guess I want to now, but it's more of a thing where I feel like I'm missing out. But I just know that. I know. Okay, for instance, like I watched that Comedians of Comedy. Did you see the documentary?
I watched many episodes.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So that's right.
I watched the documentary one, and then I watched the final show of the tour. Yeah. And like I loved both of them, and I sat through both of them. But at the same time, like there's a part of my brain that's like, I have seen this before, and I'm afraid of zoning out. I guess, like you know what I mean? Like it's so hard.
From which angle? As an audience member, or
as an audience member? Like, well, no, from the audience, because a lot of the same bits were just 100%, word for word, obviously. But some of the bits I think were like behind the scenes in the documentary, and some of maybe they're working them out or whatever. But they're on stage.
So what you're talking about is that almost mundane thing of having to be able to do a routine and get it out there and seeing what it's like for them. And that's, I think that's what a band experiences. And really, Styx goes, do we have to do, Come Sail Away Again? It's like, holy crap. If you don't do it, people get mad and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, but I'll listen to a song again. But there are times if it's a shit joke, if it's one of your bad jokes, like your 2 or 3 really good jokes are going to stick out for me. The other songs or track, I don't care. I don't want to hear them again. Yeah. For the most part, and I don't want to be a dick about it. So I don't want to be a bad audience.
I don't know if people should see that, because that is life on the road. Is the beauty of that show. That's if you want to know what it's like, it is not fun, especially unless you're. Leno does, shows here and there, or Seinfeld goes and does a big, but for the average comedian, you have to be able to live that life on the road. Yeah. You're hoping you're with a couple guys, or girls who you get along with. Sure. And, it's 2 hours on stage, and then it's like trying to kill another 22 hours. What do we do? And I enjoy that. Those guys are so hilarious.
Oh, God, they're geniuses.
Yeah.
Regroup on a woman, Jack, because they outthink our ass. But we out-reason them motherfuckers, see? If we get 2 minutes, all we gotta do is get 2 minutes, but it's hard to break them motherfuckers up when they get a roll going. They leave you in the middle of the floor babbling, baby. You have to go to your psychology bag on their ass. Hey, baby, hey, wait, fuck all this arguing, you know what I mean? Let's just be cool, all right? Just take your time and pack your shit. All right? Take your time, pack your shit. Put your shit in the bag. Is that bag gonna be big enough? Because if not, you can use one of mine. Right. You cool? You got money and everything? Because you don't need no money? You cool? Good. No, what do you mean why am I being... I just wanted to be right. Shit, I can't make you stay if you want to leave. You just go ahead and pack this. You understand? We started off as human beings. I wanted to end that way. You dig? All you have to do is find another way out of here other than that door. Because you try to leave me, bitch, I'm going to kill your ass. I put the motherfucking bag down. I just put the goddamn bag down.
I had an amazing experience at a comedy club here in LA. My mother came to visit. We went to see a late night taping, a late show taping, and the warm-up comedian was like, hey, come to the Comedy Store tonight. Everyone here gets free admission with your tickets. Still 2-drink minimum. So we showed up. I didn't want to go. I'm like, I'm from Mom. I don't want to go. Right. She drags me. She's visiting. We go.
Let's go see the comedians.
Chris Rock showed up and did an hour out of a notebook of all new stuff that he was trying out.
Nice.
To a room of 15 people.
You know,
holy shit,
I guess you know what you want to say. Oh, I go see crap. But when you see somebody like Chris Rock, you know, there's somebody who can craft a stand-up joke.
And when you see someone like Chris Rock in front of 15 people at the Comedy Store, he's like, I'm trying stuff out.
Right.
Looking at his notebook going, nope, not going to try it. All right, this one will work. And then he turns to us and I'm starting the joke.
Yeah.
It was like awesome. It was ridiculous. It was amazing.
So good.
That's a good experience there. But, you know, he's somebody who you can listen to Pryor and you know that this is someone who he listened to as a kid. You know, he's just a couple years younger than me, 3 or 4 years. But I know he was listening to those same albums, and I think he's a New York or New Jersey guy or something. I'm not sure. New York, So, you know, he's somebody who I love and feel like can craft a joke. Yeah. And, you know, when you hear his stories about being wasted again on, you know, his movies, you know.
He's one of the same people. His movies are just.
Yeah, it can't make it, like, click and stuff.
And they're written by the same fucking, like, Louis C.K. writes half of this shit, and he's a genius.
Good people, and
I don't know if they're trying so hard to fall into the mold or if it's a producer end thing where they just get, like...
You know, my guess is that it gets so hard to water it down and too many chiefs spoil it. You know, probably if Chris Rock could make his own movie, if somebody would just give him $50 million, you know, you're going to get something decent. But as soon as somebody else starts muddying it up or watering it down, you start getting, you know, any Richard Pryor movie or something that isn't going to be him. That he's funny enough that. You know, to see Pryor do his thing, you probably, you know, if Richard Pryor was just coming into his heyday now, he'd have a reality show, and I guarantee you'd watch that because that's a train wreck on top of this hilarious guy.
Yeah, they would have killed him earlier, probably.
Yeah, probably, right?
I mean, and not to only talk about black comedians, but like Eddie Murphy is another example of a guy who clearly, you know, he took a lot of what Richard Pryor did, but he did it in his own way. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of cockiness because the guy was on fucking SNL when he was 19. Right. Of course you're going to be cocky. Right. And you're performing in front of all these people, but like he's a guy who had an amazing movie career and started out really strong and now is doing, you know, Daddy Daycare. Yeah. And like he's talking about maybe doing stand up again and also talking about maybe doing another Beverly Hills Cop but making it PG-13. So like that just shows where he's gone. No. You can't do that.
That's too bad, but definitely a super talent as far as stand up went for his day, you know, as a performer.
But what the hell happens?
But I don't know.
I mean, you can still do the kid themed things and make it funny to an extent, but he doesn't like The Toy. Yeah. The Toy. I mean,
I grew up on that.
That movie was amazing, but it was.
I don't know if it's good. I haven't watched it in forever. I loved it when I was 3.
But it wasn't Daddy
Richard
Daycare.
Pryor?
Yeah.
Richard Pryor. Yeah, you're right.
Toy,
you're right.
You know,
I mean,
Toy. It wasn't a kids movie, but kids could watch it.
It was a Kubrick. Who somebody. The director was somebody big though, right?
Yeah,
it was a big name. Somebody who'd been trying to get it done, and for like, you know, 10 years had tried to get the movie made and stuff. Yeah. It was one of those. Could never, and I remember being excited about that movie coming out and stuff, you know. And Jackie Gleason, I think, was the dad.
Yeah, Jackie.
You know, and
that was just awesome. Still to this day, I watch Brewster's Millions maybe once a month.
Do you really? Wait, once a month? We were just talking about how horrible a movie that is.
I love that movie.
That's so interesting.
I haven't seen it in forever.
Because I said in my mind, I definitely went opening weekend, and it's John Candy and Richard Pryor. I mean, you know, that's like gold, right? And I just remember walking out going, you know, it made me laugh a couple times, but didn't kind of transfer. But you were at the right age probably when it came out, and you like, you know, it probably hit you, you know, right dead center.
Something
for what
about
they
it.
needed.
I love thinking about what you would do with that money.
Of course.
It's like, in that, I think it's just the idea of that gets me more than anything. And I've tried to read the novel recently. It's originally a novel.
Really? Yeah, it's old, right?
It's old, public domain. Yeah, it's really old. Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's remake this
thing. There's been 8 movies.
Yeah, there have. It's been remade
and remade.
Yeah, 7 or 8 plays, movies, everything.
Absolutely.
Wow. Lil Bow Wow? Little Bow Wow.
Lil Bow Wow.
I guess it has to be a black
Bow Wow
guy
now.
now. I think. Oh, I'm sorry, Bow Wow. I apologize.
He goes to USC.
Does he?
Yeah.
Does he really?
Yeah.
How old is Bow Wow?
I don't know.
Does he call himself that when he goes to
I
class?
think he's just Bow.
there's
Any
a lot
questions from the class? Yes. Mr. Bow Wow?
Is Bow Wow, he's Master P's son, right?
Yeah,
Is that okay? Yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on there because he got a basketball scholarship to USC, and then they found out like there was something shady going on because it was who's the guy who plays for Memphis? It was that had all the got paid to go to USC that caused their basketball program to run into all kinds of trouble. So.
OJ Mayo.
Yeah, OJ Mayo.
Yep,
Right, they signed together and stuff.
I'm sorry, I know nothing about sports, but the name
Yes.
OJ Mayo is possibly the greatest name ever. That
would be disgusting.
Yeah, it's a horrible combination. He makes me want to puke and laugh at the same time. Wow, that's good.
I mean, very good.
Okay, so Richard Pryor.
Richard Donner.
Richard Donner.
Holy shit.
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Internet
No.
told me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Internet. So was this the first album you bought, comedy album?
I think it was what was the other album we talked about? That N is Crazy, the N word.
Yeah,
we're going back to that.
Right.
This N word is crazy.
Yeah, I was going to get that one too. Actually, they had
it's hard to
all
find
of
us.
them.
Oh, did they? Did they? Yeah. There's a couple of them, but this is actually, I'm glad you got this one because this is the one that really kind of stuck with me too. On over a couple of them, and I bought it. And it was the same time. It's that, and then I think it was this one, and then I think the Steve Martin, is it Let's Get Small? Is that
Let's
right?
Get Small.
Right, Let's Get Small is
Fucking
the
brilliant.
those two were the two that I sat in the room on the old record player and just probably wore the grooves out listening to.
Why this one more than the other Richard Pryor one? What differentiates?
I think it was probably just sheer luck that I just looked at them and just kind of picked one out. I don't think I don't remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, you got to go get a Richard Pryor album. You should hear this guy," or anything. I think it was just more. I had some money in my pocket and just went, "Oh, I want to hear some comedy albums and stuff." And it was so much fun that I bought a few, but none ever kind of had the magic that like the Richard Pryor and Steve Martin had. They'd be good and they'd be funny and stuff. But Bob Newhart, has some funny written bits and stuff, but it's not this.
No, it's not. I mean, he's one of those guys. He's rare because he was a gimmick to begin with, but somehow just kept going. And I love everything he's done. But it's clearly a gimmick.
Yeah, right.
It's just dude on one end of a phone call, but so good.
But I know why it keeps making you laugh. The Bob Newhart show, and then Bob. Which it's the same guy. They even play it at the end. Is how they end the Bob. Basically wakes up with Suzanne Pleshette in bed and stuff, and says he has a dream. They're kind of acknowledging it. It's just him. That's Bob Newhart.
They supposedly they'd always dreamed of making him Dave Foley's dad on news radio, and that would have been pretty much perfect. Just two guys stammering for half an hour. I would have killed to see that. Oh my god. I'm trying to think. Well, Mike, I mean, we haven't actually talked about this. Like, have you ever, what comedy album, did you ever buy any, or is it just strictly you using your parents' collection I did?
Yeah, I used my parents' collection, and I didn't even know that they were ever into comedy until, when I realized they had records upstairs.
In the attic.
And I was into the hip-hop.
Right.
So to me, it was a wooka, 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 wooka. I could do the scratching.
The
scratching. But then you listen, I was like, Bill Cosby? I like the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Put it on and listen to Richard Pryor. And it wasn't until I was in college that I realized that reciting a lot of these Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy jokes were really racist for a white guy to do. And I'm like, and the black guys do this. And I'm telling my white friends, they know we're 15, 14 years old. You don't realize, you're like, it doesn't really come off there.
We went to, I remember I was out here visiting friends, and we went with my friend's little brother, who was probably 10 at the time, and he starts doing one of the Eddie Murphy things, Eddie Murphy doing the Honeymooners. Do you remember that?
No.
I'm gonna fuck you at the Padres game. I'm like,
Holy shit.
I'm gonna fuck you in the ass.
That's like awesome. Holy shit. Oh my god.
Really simple Eddie Murphy bits about that I was doing that I'm like, if a white guy says this, it's so racist. Right. The bit where he's like, do you know why black guys have white palms and feet? Because this is the position God puts us when he spray paints us. Right. And I'm like doing that joke, and it's like,
funny.
You can't do that.
When did you realize it was quote unquote
wrong? Years later. I was doing these in the open, loudly in front of people.
Because you feel like you know these guys when you hear these good comedians. I know Richard Pryor. I could do his jokes, and I'm sure again, that's some of the epiphany that he had, because I'm guessing people walked up and said, "Hey, you're one funny in," you know, and it's like, I'm sure that just would drive you nuts. You go, "No, I've not entitled you to sit there and use that word. I know I use that word, and I use it about me, and I use people I know. But you are not entitled, you know, as a white guy from Omaha, to come up to me and start throwing that out at me." And I'm sure it was happening all the time.
You're probably right. And dudes be trying to talk a lot of shit on cocaine too, right? Be thinking they making plenty of sense. Don't be saying shit. They be shit. I Nixon shit. Remember my shit, goddamn. And the pimps get psychotic when they get high. Them motherfuckers get all the moves together, right? Shit, I'm down in it. I got, you know what I mean? I'm now the men scream on me and say, "I'm doing the mercy," you know? I got 500, you know? Talking about the men. Now I got, you know, I'm trying to work on the line, you know? I'm over in the car. So nigga, this bitch gonna do nothing about, you know, I'm gonna hold the mess. I ain't holding the motherfucker, man. You know, so I'm gonna get it, huh? You know, yeah. I'm ready for Freddy, you know what I mean? And now, niggas be holding them dicks, too, Jack. White people go, "Why do you guys hold your things?" So you done took everything else, motherfucker.
An easy target.
Yeah,
a recognizable dude.
Yeah.
Was there anybody, I mean, I'm not going to stick on race the whole time. Is there anybody of color in your school, Mike?
Yeah. One, and
One guy.
he's one of my best friends, and he was actually a groomsman in my wedding. Like the one.
Did he hear you? Did he hear you making these cracks?
Yeah.
Was he okay with it?
Well, yeah, because I think he knew that it was comedy, and he knew where it was coming from too.
Yeah. Right, you weren't throwing it out to be racist. Exactly. You just heard a funny bit,
and we were all reciting these bits.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's not racist. But if you were walking on the street and heard me and a couple of my buddies just reciting this stuff,
right?
You'd be like,
right, out of context.
Yeah, well,
horrible,
no one would be upset because of the town I grew up in. They'd all be like, "Yeah, good job."
Right. Yeah, for all the wrong reasons.
Yep, same here. That's why we picked Monty Python.
That was supposedly the Chappelle thing, was that, you know, he'd do, you know, a lot of controversial, you know, racist things, and so supposedly it was like a few of the crew members just laughed a little too hard. He felt like, "Hey, wait a second, you know, are they laughing at us or with us?"
Right.
And they say that's one of the things that drove him over the edge. Another super hilarious person, you know, who, you know.
Well, I was always happy to hear that he couldn't stand the fans of his that quoted his shit mindlessly, just as I couldn't stand him. That's the only reason I can't watch his show, because, like, all I can think about is those assholes who say, "I'm Rich, bitch," or "I'm Rick James," and over and over and over. I'm like, you've killed it for me.
But they don't get, that's not even the joke.
No.
Like, they don't get the joke. They're in it for the catchphrase.
It was brilliant satire. Really brilliant satire. But I have to actually sit down and watch it again sometime soon to actually really appreciate it, because it was out of context for me.
You know, it's not a show that I watched religiously, but every time I watch, I laugh. I have to say that.
Some of the greatest sketches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
The blind KKK.
The blind KKK.
Yes.
It's the greatest.
That's maybe an all-time classic, right?
Yeah, and I just remember. No, I don't even know. What I was
you don't know?
say.
Okay,
I don't remember it. I don't.
For Chappelle-wise and stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking we were going back onto the race thing about how racist I was as a kid.
Yeah.
I did a high school talent show where I did John Leguizamo sketches from House of Buggin', and I was like, Chicano militant minute.
Yeah.
I look back and I'm like, oh my god.
All right. I'm going to have to try to outshoot you for the, you know, unknown races of 6th grade went as Aunt Jemima for Halloween.
Oh, shit!
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah. You know, hilarious. I won the costume contest, you know, and, you know, when I think back, I go, what were we thinking? You know, literally, like, virtually a minstrel, you know? I mean, just, we did homemade makeup and stuff.
Holy crap.
And, you know, I did a bandana and big, you know, outfit. And,
I actually used to wear a necklace that said Africa on it when I was into rap.
Oh,
really.
my gosh.
And that was not trying to be funny. Like,
Holy shit.
It was an African necklace.
What about, like, Sacha Baron Cohen, you know, when he's doing, is it Bruno? No, he has the
Ali G.
Ali G.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty funny and you know, and could be, you know, taken by the wrong person as racist too, because, you know, you're not quite sure, you know, of his ethnicity of the character or not. You know, he's a Jewish guy from England, but you know, he comes off as he could look like he's like maybe partially, mixed minority or something
Right.
too, and you know, he's throwing stuff out. But he's another super funny person, I think, nowadays, who I would love to see more from. And he kind of gets to do his own thing a little bit. You know, nobody gets just free reign. You know, when it comes to movie wise and stuff.
His problem that Sacha Baron Cohen's getting right now is he had a lot of problems on Bruno that people were recognizing him and knowing it was a bit, and it was like that's it. That's why he tried to do so much overseas.
Yeah,
sure.
Like,
yeah, I can't imagine being. I mean, he's doing. I think his next thing's narrative. Although, other than Queen, which I'm not. I'm in between on that one. Him playing Freddie Mercury kind of seems kind of perfect, but he also kind of drives me crazy sometimes. So I don't know. It's like
But you know, I like that
Sweeney Todd. Sorry.
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
I like this just kind of trying to figure out like who nowadays you know was influenced by Pryor and who.
Oh yeah.
You know, you wonder if somebody. I can't imagine that Sacha Baron Cohen, in his formative years, knew anything of Richard Pryor. I don't know. You know, growing up in England and all, and not that there weren't American albums there and stuff too. But I'd be curious to kind of ask him who his comedy influences were.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Although it seems it's funny when I see like Family Guy was making fun of Monty Python and stuff, talking about kind of saying they did this bit where they tied Meg up in the basement and they made her watch Monty Python bits, and she goes, I don't even like the funny bits. Like they were kind of saying there's a lot of unfunny bits, which from the old TV show, when you watch it now, you kind of go, oh, I remember laughing at everything,
right?
You know, and now I kind of just want to see the special bits and stuff,
right?
You know, they're. It either, it doesn't play now or, isn't as good and stuff. But a lot of really smart people I know, seems like they all love Python, and you have to appreciate their writing skills too.
Sure.
The same way that I appreciate, Pryor's ability to present a joke. I mean, that was really his forte. It was putting a joke out there. The material itself, funny characters, but he wasn't, he was just, he crafted the jokes themselves, how he was going to say them. But, if you read a lot of these jokes just on paper, you kind of go, I'm not really seeing where the funny is.
Right, yeah. No, I mean, it is all just a matter of the presentation. The same as a bad director can fuck up a good script.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I'm going to have to find Let's Get Small, if only because it's very different.
It is.
It's not character.
It is.
It's like the guy came from, like, a real love of, like, of performing, but of like, kind of a vaudeville thing, and he's also sort of being ironic. And
he's strumming a banjo, for God's sakes.
Yeah,
There you go. Who's doing that? And
now I didn't listen. Does he reference that he stole it?
We were
from
talking
Paul
about
Mooney.
that.
Yeah.
I don't know the specifics.
Maybe
of that
that
one.
specific line. Maybe it's just that line, the justice line. I'm wondering, he must have just jacked it from Paul Mooney.
I'll bet that's what it is. That the whole thery of justice, is we don't get justice.
Here, let's let them look at the cover to see.
Here you
what
go,
we're
people.
about.
There you go. How does that look?
There you go.
right,
Now they understand.
No, they totally get it. But yeah, Paul Mooney. He's one of those guys who's kind of behind the scenes, and for a lot of guys, and like I didn't know he was until I saw Bamboozled. Which I fucking love that movie. Have you seen Bamboozled?
Yeah. He's one of those people who influences. Like, he's on everyone's influence list. Yep. Influenced by.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting to hear people bring up, like, Dick Gregory, because as a kid, to me, he was just an activist. You know, he wasn't a comedian and stuff. And then I read some of his routines, who actually on paper were really funny.
Yeah.
Really funny stuff. And, he got to the point where he was more about the cause.
Sure.
As opposed to just, just wanted to go out there and entertain, which you can completely understand, especially if you were African American in the 60s, and going into the 70s. I mean, you can see where these guys, trying to help themselves, to move up and to change the world too.
Yeah.
And when you go and somebody like Richard Pryor or Dick Gregory can do that, it's pretty amazing.
Right.
Do
you think? I just wonder if it with a guy like Richard Pryor or most comedians who go the comedian route and don't become activists. If it's just a matter of attention span, if it's just like, I can't sit down here and plan something and be serious for too long, it kills me.
It takes a lot of energy and effort.
Yeah.
You got to wonder, how much can I put out there? And then I'm sure there's just that frustration point. What can I really do? How can I, change things?
You always feel like you're not helping, especially if you're in comedy, because you're like, laughs, you don't even trust the laughs sometimes.
Picasso felt that every work of art was an almost an act of war. It was a political statement.
Right.
Even if you don't know where it's coming from,
Right.
if it's a legitimate work of art, it's coming from somewhere politically inside you that you are making a statement.
Right, putting it out.
If comedians could take themselves seriously, well, some of them do take themselves way too seriously, but it seems like it's one of those things, they don't trust their own material.
But it's also such a fine line with the audience, because you don't want to be preached to either, so how do you put stuff out there? And Pryor did so much to put things out there in a funny way that you're still entertained, and still thinking, and then he threw out, he was raunchy too, and so he went on this roller coaster ride, of presentation on different material, different things he's talking about, and and as soon as a comedian starts getting preachy, which was, Lenny Bruce's, one of his downfalls, was, people just tune out. All of a sudden, that's not what you want to hear.
And it's actually, it's interesting you say that because, like, for me personally, it's a similar reason that I stopped listening to George Carlin but it's because of his character changed. It wasn't necessarily, it was preachy, but the character was preachy. And he was doing that character, I think, for a reason to reflect how the baby boomers were changing and everything. But I hated the change. Angry George Carlin, I never liked.
You wanted a little more hippy-dippy weather,
I
man.
love that shit. Right? And, the last album was really good. And I probably appreciate it more because he just died. But the last album I thought was really good. And I got, you can hear maybe the sensitivity in there a little bit more. But, like, Angry George Carlin, I was like, I don't know if... and again, I don't know if Richard Pryor changed his character that much after he stopped using the N-word, but like, how often do they change character?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
what?
A big risk.
Again, a lot of it is, it's all based on how long do I want to sustain this?
Sure. Do
you need a change? That's with the bands, when they're doing songs, they want to try something. And there's such a fine line of the audience wants to see, the characters that we know.
Yeah.
You can't venture too far, but if you just give them the same thing, then they're bored. So you got to kind of find that middle ground of how can you evolve or how can the material evolve without, like, disenfranchising people or throwing people off,
Yeah, I mean, George Carlin was lucky in that he had, it wasn't just lucky, he was brilliant, but like, he had HBO, he's the first guy to have HBO as a platform, so he got to give people what they wanted, but he got to evolve that character, and if he wanted to change it, he could, and people at some point only knew him from that, and they only knew Angry Carlin, and that's the guy they loved. Oh, brain droppings, funniest shit in the world, and I was always like, I listened to 7 words first. That was the thing that fucking killed me. I had that thing memorized, but
Isn't it nice? You can use one of those 7 words here too.
Mm-hmm. It's so nice. Oh man.
I just hope people get it who haven't had a chance to be exposed to Pryor. That this will open them up and stuff.
Who
to open
probably
up a world.
only know him from his bad movies.
Yeah, exactly right. Mm-hmm. He's that's not him.
Right.
Those movies are not him. This is the guy that kind of changed things and took it to a whole different platform.
Well, that was the other thing. Actually, that's the other thing we forgot to talk about is how different. Did we? I don't think we did. How different Blazing Saddles would have been with him instead of Cleavon Little.
Yeah, we did at the beginning. We went over that.
All right, I'm suffering from Alzheimer's. That's fantastic. Oh shit.
Well, he was also an Emmy-winning writer. Right. As a writer, you never kind of know, like, what does that mean? It meant he was on for Lily, which was a Lily Tomlin show.
Oh, really?
He won an Emmy, which sometimes you're on a staff writer on that show, but it would have been interesting, again, to, like, get a hold of the paperwork on that and know what was he writing on that show?
Yeah.
What wasn't making it on? I'm sure it would make us laugh our asses off,
absolutely.
Because could you imagine being in that room, in that writer's room? I mean, that's about as fun as it would
have
get.
been frenetic. It would have been insane. Like they say Mel Brooks was when he was working on your show of shows. Like, just like, maybe annoying. Maybe to the point of annoying to everybody else. But clearly that's like genius level shit going on there. Because, and again, I think that's the same reason he seems like the kind of guy who just, for drugs or other reasons, couldn't get along with everybody.
Right.
He did not fit in. He almost didn't work out on Blazing Saddles. He had all kinds of insane problems on Stir Crazy. Like, if you read Gene Wilder's autobiography, there's this part where, and again, Gene is such a sweet guy, even if you Gene, like I know him, we're best friends, but you listen to him,
Mr. Wilder,
right, Mr. Wilder. In the book, he talks about it. I'm not sure if it was the drugs or not, but at one point, what happened? They're all having dinner. Having dinner on the prison set. Everybody is, and somebody chops up some watermelon, and they're having some watermelon, and 2 guys start playing frisbee with it. Unfortunately, it gets loose and it lands right at Richard Pryor's feet, and he just got pissed and walked off the set, took a helicopter and left.
Wow.
Left. And clearly no reason, like, there's no logical nobody was aiming anything at him.
It
was
wasn't
not like
meant to be racist or anything.
Not at all. And I mean, Sidney Poitier's a director. Yeah. You're not going to fucking do that on Sidney Poitier's set. So, like, he obviously just couldn't fit. Again, drugs maybe. But, like, the drugs were, probably trying to medicate that part of him that didn't get along with anybody. Anyway.
Stir Crazy was late 70s.
I think so,
I think probably like 79 and it's, I'm sure it was a combination of whatever he was on.
Yep.
And, just that sense of anger, of, the life he had led.
Sure.
And, being, living in the 60s, I'm sure he, he remembered what it was like only being able to drink out of certain fountains and go to restrooms and not being able to sit at lunch counters and stuff. I mean, that is such a foreign world to us now that we just hear people talk about, and so I'm sure, all it takes is even one drink, let alone drugs, to like get you, the wrong, some watermelon lands at your feet. Yeah. You kind of see somebody, and I'm Richard Pryor. I don't have to put up with this shit.
Exactly. You wonder if maybe that personal hands-on experience with that kind of, I know the racism's still there. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah. But a lot of comics now who can still talk about the same thing and absolutely have the right. But they're getting a lot of this stuff passed down. Yeah. They still have the right to talk about it, but that fire is not going to burn in you, I don't think, the same way as it would in somebody like
who actually experienced it.
And he had to say it, and he had to talk about it, because there's no reason no way you let anybody get away with it. You had to keep talking about it. Otherwise, it would just get buried.
Absolutely.
And as long as everybody hears it. And I mean, in this case, like, you're listening to that, he's clearly relating really well to the audience. They love him. They're hooting and howling. Yeah. At moments, I might not. Maybe I don't relate, whatever. I'm not there seeing him do what he's doing, but obviously, a white dude from Nebraska heard it, and sure, there's the sweetening effect where you're going to laugh along with the laughs, but something must have hit you.
Totally struck, and again, he painted this picture in your mind as you listened to him, that just made you laugh, and for 98% of it, you can just see what he's doing. You see him on stage, and that it's amazing to have somebody to have that kind of charisma that he had. I mean, that's pretty special.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
Good. A blast. I love. Nothing's funnier than sitting around talking about comedy.
Right. Exactly. There's nothing better than analyzing what is funny and instinctively funny.
But no, it is kind of fun to to take these cultural events too, and put them out there for people to you hope either exposing them to something new, or at least what I loved about your other podcast with the Smothers Brothers, had been so long since I'd sat there and listened to stuff. It just made me laugh, and I pulled up a bunch of other things. And, it's fun to kind of to know that you're drudging up those kind of things that make people laugh again. It's something they maybe hadn't listened to in a long time.
I think I want to do another Smothers Brothers one soon. All right. If we do, if you want to come along for
if you give me a pre-warning, because I'm not as familiar with their stuff as I am with other.
Well, we'll do Let's Get Small too.
We're going to do Let's That sounds like a lot of fun.
Sweet. Well, this has been episode 4 of Comedy on Vinyl. Thank you to Mike Worden, producer and contributor.
I didn't know if that was my time to speak.
No, Michael.
Sorry.
God, who the fuck do you think you are?
I didn't know if you were.
Jesus Christ!
I'm getting in my helicopter.
Follow me on Twitter, M.A. Warden. I have 7 followers now.
Don't follow him on Twitter. Don't listen to him.
I have 7 followers.
Okay, follow him on Twitter. I'll follow you tonight. Am I already following you?
I don't know.
Mike, are you on Twitter, Mike?
I am on the Twitter.
Are you? Do you want to tell people? You don't have to.
No, for the next one, I can't even remember, because I don't think I've twitted in weeks now. I was. You know what? I did it, and I have a lot more friends on Facebook. Yeah. And you know what it ended was the Oscars, and I had a couple of my friends. We watch it live. And so I was doing like tweeting some pretty good jokes, and I realized, hey, I've got like 10 people here. I got to go over to Facebook and put this in. And there I got like the big response. Oh, you're kidding me? Good one. So true. And I go, oh. Okay, so maybe if I get a few followers on the Twitter bug there, I think I have also like.
I'll put a link on the blog.
Maybe we should have like a challenge for a tweeter challenge there.
We should
see how many people we can get on, because that would be fun, and we could tweet during the podcast.
Exactly.
Wait, how would that work?
I don't know, but here's the thing: it's a time machine. That's fine.
People the beauty of it is, the reference. Here's what you can do: is you have people on the podcast. They tell you when they're going to start it, and you start at your house, and that's when you can start your tweet.
There you go. That's a good idea.
Tweet his questions.
I like that. I like that idea. Well, thank you to Mike Preister as well. This has been a lot of fun. Everybody have a fantastic evening. And what I don't remember, we don't have a tag to leave with. We need a tag.
Was it something we said? No, that won't work.
Right to the old cook shop, and I tell you what'll make me growl. Boiled beef and carrots, boiled beef and carrots. That's the stuff for your Darby Kill. Makes you fit and it keeps you well. Don't live like
Comedy on Vinyl is recorded at Fort Awesome Studios in Burbank, California. Follow us on Twitter at Comedy on Vinyl, and follow us on Facebook, or like us at goo.gl/V/S as in zinc.
We both got it done once more. My pals all met me in the pub. Said a fella to me, what's your afraid? What did you have for your honeymoon? So just for a lark I said, boiled beef and carrots, boiled beef and carrots. That's the stuff for your Darby Kill. Makes you fit and it keeps you well. Don't live like vegetarians. Don't take it to